Hey, I'm Steph. I'm a motivator, creator, small business owner, and educator. I'm a lover of all things health, spirituality, inspiration, and business. These are just a few words to describe me, along with passion, grit, and resiliency. Regardless of what I'm up to, I am soul-driven to create a purpose-filled life and find the advantages in adversity, all while keeping a smile on my face.
Soul Driven with Steph is a podcast that will fill up your cup and leave you feeling empowered, inspired, and on fire as you listen to interviews and stories of other soul-driven and strong women that have overcome against all odds. This podcast was a calling on Steph's soul to serve, connect, and share stories of struggles and successes, all to create a community so that you know you're never alone. Grab a cup of coffee, get ready to learn, laugh, and leave with wisdom and strategies to connect to your soul and get back in the driver's seat of your life today. Here's Steph.
Welcome back to a very spontaneous and fun episode of Soul Driven with Steph. My wonderful big sis, Cathryn, and I were just working through a program that we're doing together, and once we were done, I said, "Oh, what are you doing next?" And just asked her if she wanted to do a fun, spontaneous podcast talking about the first chapter of the book, because I really just want this podcast to be fun. I want it to be the kind of like extra behind the scenes of what maybe I didn't say in the book or expanding on the chapter in the book. And there's no better person to bring on for chapter 1 than my sister as we talk about dreaming big in a small town. So we really have nothing pre-planned or prepared, which is even more exciting. So Cathryn, I'll ask you the question first as the older sister and, someone who I have been able to be myself with and grow up with. What made our childhood so different? Because we didn't really realize it was different until we grew up,
right?
Like, where do you think that came from?
I think it came from a lot of mom and dad, but like allowing creativity to like happen, and just we were always at home, like they were there, but they weren't like, here's what you need to do all the time. Mm-hmm. They were like, you need to find something to do all the time.
Or I'll give you something to do. As in chores.
We had plenty of those already. Not complaining, but, we had our things that we did every day. So I think, like, the space to have creativity within, like, bounds still. Yeah. It's not like we were just home alone every day, like, have at it, kids.
Really never home alone.
No, we weren't.
Yeah, no, it was either us with our parents or, like you read in the book, the daycare. So the daycare growing up, I think in that environment too, shaped us in a different way as well than just like having me and you. Right. Because it wasn't always just me and you. It was usually me and you and all these other little kids that we were sharing toys with or having to come up with something to do. Right. We weren't really allowed to go to mom and dad and say we're bored. Because there was no boredom allowed.
Right.
So if we would come up with something. So one thing that I didn't share in the book that I think we should talk about is the thinking game.
I know you're going to say.
Tell us what the thinking game is.
So the thinking game is you set a timer. This is very applicable still.
Yeah.
It's a good tech free for kids.
Yeah. Or adults.
Sure, adults too. And you set a timer, 1 minute, 2 minutes, whatever it is, a few minutes. You set a timer and you think of ideas of what to do, of games,
make believe, anything.
Yes, inside, outside, whatever. That you're gonna do like immediately after you
decide.
The timer ends, and then depending on how many people there are, you go around and you share your ideas. And you see what is the most agreeable.
You write them all down. We would use our whiteboard. We'd write them all.
Yeah, write them down.
And then, yes, we'd vote on them.
Yeah, on like the number one pick. And that's what we would do. And maybe there was time to even do 2 things. Mm-hmm. We'd be like, we're going to do this first and then we're going to do that.
What were some of our top picks? I feel like restaurant was a big one.
Oh yeah.
We played restaurant a lot.
Hotel.
We made up, restaurant, hotel
business.
School.
Mm.
I loved playing school. I always wanted to be a teacher, so that was a big one. And we'd like make the daycare kids our students.
Yeah, riding
like,
bikes.
Tell them what to do. Yeah, we rode bikes and
played Titanic.
All kinds of things. We would rake we had big, huge pine trees in our yard, separating both sides from our neighbors, and we would rake our pine trees into like
pine needles.
Not our pine trees. We would rake our pine needles into like walls to create houses.
Like a pine needle house.
We did all kinds of things. So in the book, though,
right.
So, side note, the thinking game, genius. Don't know how we came up with it.
We also had the nature museum going.
Yeah, I talk about that. But like the thinking game is something that I don't even like. How old were we?
Come up with that?
Maybe 8 or 9 at the most.
Yeah.
How kids came up with that and like decided to vote on it and had a whole democratic process about it is really funny.
Yeah, maybe I don't know if mom had inspired anything or not.
I have
but
no idea.
All we knew was like you couldn't say you're bored. You better just find something to do or you're going to get given a task. And you all needed to be agreeable or you were going to be in trouble for arguing or fighting and not like, coming to a conclusion. So very good problem solving skills, I guess, for kids under 10 or 12 of like, hey, you all need to figure out what your ideas, and then you're all going to agree, So
yeah. And then then we had a lot of make believe things like school and restaurant and a hotel and nature house and all of those things. But then we also had a lot of business ventures, and that I think was very unique. All kids have a lot of kids have lemonade stands and like love that. I just think we lived on a dead end cul-de-sac. No one is coming to our lemonade stand.
Sadly. No.
Unless it's the daycare parents, right? So we had to work with what we had, which is the theme in chapter 1 of, being from a small town, take the resources that you have and do something with them.
Yes.
So that's what we did. We took our, lot of land that we lived on.
Daycare parents for the daycare carnivals, the dance shows, the art shows, the nature museum, my Blackberry business,
the fashion shows
that came from,
and just
babysitting business.
Oh, we had a great lead funnel into our babysitting business because everyone that came to Karen's daycare during the week and needed a weekend babysitter
or evening, they were like, "Oh, and you already know how to take care of our kids."
We know them well. They're like our little siblings.
Oh, you don't have the certification? Oh, you're Karen's daughter.
Yeah, we never actually did a babysitting certification because we literally were changing diapers when we were, 8? Yeah, I mean, younger. Under 10. We were changing diapers.
Fed the babies when I was 5.
Changing diapers, feeding babies, like all the things. We didn't think anything of it. Like, we go to our friend's house and all we do there is like play with their toys, normal kids and, like, probably hang out in their room. Yeah, and you come to our house and
houses are quiet.
Yeah, our house is not quiet. So our mom had a daycare, which we always had kids around our age to play with.
Or younger.
A lot of them became like our little siblings.
Yeah.
And our dad was growing his own business in the hunting industry. Out of our house.
Yeah, when you were
at the same time.
You were about 8-ish.
Yeah.
When he started that.
And I remember, kids screaming in one half of the house and dad trying to make sales calls in the living room. I mean, this was our house.
You heard the phone ring, you better be quiet. Or you answer it and you say the business line.
Exactly. We were making sales calls at 8 or 9 probably, because if someone called the landline and wanted to buy something, we would just say call back. We'd say, okay, let me get your name and number.
Don't hang up the phone till you get the order.
You get
with
the
their
order,
contact
name, number, and tell them that dad is going to call them back. See, and like it's funny looking back now, but
I
like
know.
we never thought anything weird about this,
Yes.
right? Like
Just trained
ever.
in what you were told to do.
Yeah. So what I
Right.
write about in that chapter
Customer service 101
is just how your upbringing, your childhood, I think is such a, it's so impactful on what you believe you can do moving forward. When I decided to start a business at age 20, when you decided to start a business at what, age 20? You were 20? 19. Yeah. And I was even teaching classes at 18. So we were doing things before our 20s even that were business related. It never crossed my mind that like it could fail and you shouldn't do this and you should just go to college and pursue that path.
It was more like if you don't do it, you could miss out.
Exactly.
And of course there's risk.
Yeah.
That just comes with it.
Yeah.
Like don't let it stop you. It's just part of it.
And I think seeing like mom grow the daycare business and also dad really grow his business from like literally nothing to this huge company nationwide. We saw like every obstacle that he was faced and how it never stopped him. Like he just kept going. Like, of course we would hear, behind the scenes, like any of the challenges he was facing, but it was never feeling like, oh, well, I might quit now and go find a job. It was just, okay, how am I going to
like have to
figure out a way around this? Yeah. How am I going to pivot? How am I going to do that? So I think that was really, really impactful, that the mindset mentality where we're taught is to just don't quit, like just keep going. Right. And you're almost like not allowed to give up.
Right. Oh yeah.
Like
and there was like different challenges too with like the economy or like
that we didn't even really know
like
about.
The 08 stuff, now that we're in real estate, I look back like 09, like, wow, I was graduating high school and very mildly oblivious to all of it. And dad being in the hunting industry, that kind of had its own impact from all of that in those years into 2010. But yeah, lots of shifts and pivots, and how do we just keep moving forward? And if one way is not working so well anymore, like what are our ideas? Like what can we do now?
What's a new product? What's a new offering that I can pivot to? And I think for us, like it was just like seeing that firsthand. I mean, you worked more like in his business at the time, because if you didn't read the chapter, Cathryn is the hunter of the family. So she was, I would say, pretty involved in the business when you were
I did all the graphic design
and all of that.
Yeah, I did all the graphic design. So you were learning marketing time. And then I went to all the trade shows and heard the spiels and had to learn, how to talk to people and customer service and how do you bring somebody into this booth and engage them in your business and what you're offering. Could they benefit from buying from your buying your product, like all those things that I didn't realize. And then like I flip it around at 19 or 20 and start direct sales myself. And then all of a sudden doing those things myself and really excelled at it quickly. It's because of all the training I had. That didn't really set in, at the time. I was just like, cool, this is what, this is going great. But I was exposed to it at 10 and 11 years old already without knowing.
And taking all of these like childhood creative endeavors, like our fashion show, our dance show where we made up performances. I always wanted to dance, and it was just something that our family couldn't afford. So we would make up our own performances. And now, obviously at age 32, I get to dance for fun and I love it. But it was all in the plays. I ended up doing a lot of theater.
Yeah, we did a lot of plays too.
I did concerts. Like, so I always felt like I had this little performer inside of me. Like I just loved music and dance and theater and acting and performing. And I think all of those experiences led me to teaching group fitness and now speaking on stages and leading in that way.
And even if you like couldn't enroll in every play or all the theater, you just made it up. We did our own plays.
Can't afford that? Well, I'll do it myself.
We and this was like the era of like music obviously was different than it is now. Like we used the keyboard we got, and it had like not downloaded, but it came set with certain songs. So we would just pick those for our play and our different scenes, and we'd make our own backdrops out of what we already had. Like, there's no Amazon timing because you need a few props.
We had an old sheet that we would pin in our basement, and that I should have included that picture in the book. That was our backdrop. The flowers. And it was floral, like looked like it was
Reds.
from the 70s.
Well, it probably was.
It really was. And we knew when that curtain went up, that was like, we were in like stage month where like we had a performance coming up and we were practicing every day. And we didn't ask if the other daycare kids wanted to be included. They were just like, they were pre-enrolled.
I remember some of the younger girls, you know, like they'd be like, do we have to practice again? You're like, yes. We need to be perfect. Like, we need to be good.
We're charging for this. We need to be good.
Intermission.
Yeah, we would have an intermission with a concession stand. And even when we did the nature museum, we would basically charge people to like look at sticks and rocks. We had a field behind our house, which very Midwest, like I said in the book. Field of corn, and then it turned into just like an overgrown field. But we had berries that we would pick and rhubarb that we grew and like sold all of these things. So we were very
gift shop.
Yes, very just always looking for the next opportunity. And it was encouraged. And I think that's the biggest thing. Right. You know, we were never really shut down from like some of these business or creative endeavors. I mean, I didn't include this story in the book either, but, and I had to be, you know, selective about what I was going to include, but I even did a concert with my friend when I was in 6th grade. And I mean, you guys, we're in our driveway shooting off fireworks, almost like lighting the tree on fire.
You did your own tape recording.
We
sold them.
This is so illegal. We had first of all, our band was called Incomplete because neither of us played instruments. Therefore, we were very incomplete. We just sang songs over other artists' songs, which is very illegal. So we had our karaoke machine and we recorded ourselves over other music onto a tape and sold those. I still have one. I can't even listen to it because I don't have a tape player.
I do.
Okay, we'll have to listen to it.
I got a Sony boombox in my basement.
Bad. I actually don't even want to hear it. But this is just how like we were growing up. So all of these things are a culmination of who we are today. So I think the key here is really just, and obviously now that we both have children, like how do we nurture that? How and I ask mom all the time, like, was I always like this, or like where did some of these ideas come from? Like, was this encouraged or did we just come up with them out of nowhere and you were like, yeah, sure, go ahead?
Well, okay, one thing I also forgot to mention too is like, I know that technology has changed a lot and there was TV, obviously, and we really didn't have a lot of internet till like at least middle school, but we could only do so much
TV time.
TV, and like
we had to pick what show
cut off.
Yeah.
Like, and you had to go find something to do. So that's where I think the creativity comes in, which is kind of like nowadays where people talk about limiting screen time. Yeah. And I think I've actually had a lot of people last couple months, somehow it's just come up organically of like, that our girls don't have, iPads.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I don't know. Like we do some TV, you know, but it's kind of happens. But then I want them to play and I want them to figure it out. I want them to play. I want them to learn that they need to get along and be nice and come up with whatever they're going to do. And granted, they're not that old yet, but almost 3 and 5. And, I mean, even in the car for like some car rides, like books, coloring, take a nap, have a snack, like, I don't know. I think it's good for them to like kind of not like be leaning so heavily on that tech, like from the get-go when they're, 4, 5, 6. To just like lean into that creativity. And I hope that they want to come up with stuff and they're going to go to mom's for a while. So maybe they'll be doing what we did.
Yeah, true. Our children go to our mom's house now for daycare, which is amazing. And they get to hang out with as cousins and all of that. And I do think part of it too was we lived outside, just enough outside of town. Barely, but it was enough where like we couldn't go to our friend's house every day. Like I remember feeling like, gosh, when do we ever get to go to my friend's house? And our parents would just say, play with each other, you know, which at the time that felt very annoying and not fun because we were with each other all the time. Our friends can ride their
bikes to their other friends and the pool.
Yeah, in the summer especially. But something else I didn't talk about in the book was how we shared a room growing up. So we grew up in a 2-bedroom house and we never had our own bedroom. So we always shared from the very beginning. We shared a room, we shared a closet, we shared a queen size bed. We did have our own dressers. But other than that, like we pretty much shared everything. So it was super annoying.
Yeah.
Growing up.
It was like, this is the line. This is my side. This is your side. Don't come on my side.
Yeah. Or
worked.
Don't wear that shirt. We had this rule where like you could pick like 3 to 5 of your favorite shirts and the other person could not wear them. And if you did, you were really pushing your boundaries.
I picked white because I don't want her to wear white.
Because I'm really messy and I get everything stained.
And I still love white and wear white and it stays white.
I can't wear white.
Some things don't change.
No, but it was funny because like none of our friends shared rooms with their siblings, but also how many of our friends are this close with their sibling?
True.
Not many.
Right.
Which thanks mom and dad, because I truly think I'm sure they will listen to this. That's a big reason why we are so close, I think, is because we were literally forced to like sleep, live in the same space and hang out with each other all the time.
And if you were, upset and there was like an argument or whatever, like we're probably going to get over it fairly quickly because that's, it's just us. So it was like, okay, well, fine then, whatever. What do you want to go do?
Yeah.
Like 5 minutes
We weren't really
later.
allowed to be mad at each other. And when we were, our mom would make us say something nice.
And it couldn't be, I like your shirt.
Couldn't be about superficial things of how you look. Material. It had to be about
the person inside.
Your heart.
I've tried that with the girls, but they're great now. They're not quite there yet.
They don't
just kind of look at each other.
So all of
Emily's
these
like,
things,
let me hug you, mug it.
Shaped us, right? Like I just feel like I'm learning, you're learning more now than ever, like how your childhood, like
because we're reliving it
through our kids.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's why it's like
that's
so reflective lately.
Well, but I have
now
these
you're
questions
where
because
now
I'm
you're
like,
where I've kind of been at.
So were mom and dad just winging it, or did they actually know what they were doing? Does anyone know what they're doing as a parent?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think you're just going to do the best you can with what you've got and what you know, right?
Yeah.
And that you want it better for your kids than your parents, had it for you. Mm-hmm. So you're just like striving to, with that goal in mind. I feel like a lot of parents will say that. Mm-hmm. Like, I just want to give my kids a even better childhood than I had, or, whatever. I want more for my kids. Mm-hmm. And that you're just kind of figuring it out as you go.
Yeah.
And as long as you're a team and you're staying on the same page for the most part.
Yeah.
Obviously it's the teamwork of the mom and dad working together to really move forward with their decisions as a whole and a unity and move forward as a family.
And like picking what.
So they were both very like on the same page of like, I think letting kids, use that creativity and figuring it out because they had to.
Yeah.
Growing up. Granted, now we're in a totally different decades.
Yeah.
But like they had to figure it out. They had chores and they had to figure it out. And dad always said, like, if you, really if you want something, like you need to figure out a way to like save up money or make money to go buy it then.
Like my car.
Yeah, or whatever it is. And he always gave stories from when he was a kid of like his dad's like, you can go buy that new, I don't know, whatever it was. They always wanted something with a motor. So our goals were a little different, but
Yeah.
like
Other
you
than the car.
can buy that. And my, you know, his dad said, and dad said back to him, like, I can. And he's like, yeah, you just got to make the money to get it. He's like, oh, well, all right.
Well, and I think that's
like
part of
stories
it.
like
It's
that being
yeah.
repeated. So like that's a story from the 70s, but now being told in the 90s. We tell that story again today in the 2020s. Yes.
Heck yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's huge because, and that's where I think that confidence comes from, is like we were always like encouraged to go after what we want, whether it was a dream or
still felt like grounded.
Yeah.
And protected and safe within using the creativity.
Right. But yeah, like having that confidence that we could do whatever we wanted to do, but it didn't mean it was going to be easy and that it was going to be handed to us, but that we could go chase whatever goals or dreams we had. I also think it was a really apparent, like, as we got older, how much flexibility our parents had to show up for things, which also came from being entrepreneurs. You know, one parent was always at a sporting event. They were always at the extracurriculars, you know, the young authors night that I talk about, or the theater plays, or the school concerts, everything.
Yeah, it was like very much around what we were doing.
Yeah. But it was never like, we never felt pressured to like be perfect, like have perfect grades.
It was just support.
It was just like, wow, you got an A, you got a B, like, good job, you're doing well.
She got an A, I got a B because I didn't really care that much.
Which is funny because our parents never were like hypercritical about grades. So it's interesting to me why I felt so like I was like a high academic achiever. And like, not that you weren't, but you just didn't care as much.
It's like, oh, B+,
you did good,
A-,
yeah.
A, sure.
It's just interesting how people like raised by the same parents can be totally different, and you know how they approach things and personality. But yeah, so I feel like it's all these experiences that we collect in our childhood, that we collect as young adults, and a lot of the things that we enjoyed as a kid become that passion pursuit, whether it's through our work or through our business. How do you feel some of your experiences growing up have played into what you enjoy to do today?
I thought you were saying that as like a reflective question. I was like, oh, good prompt.
Well, yeah, you can reflect on it as the listener too.
I think
I've shared mine, obviously, in the chapter.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what yours is.
I would just say, I feel like, because I worked really closely with Dad in his business, like even more so than you did, that I really learned a lot firsthand about like true customer service. And I guess you could say marketing too. But just like working with people and how those skills have been invaluable in no matter what I'm doing. It hasn't really mattered. It's like really carried through. And I've loved like utilizing that in real estate, but then also like continuing to like grow and like hone in on those skills. And the more I do that, like the more fun and enjoyable it all is. And yeah, I just feel like I'm having more and more fun the longer that I'm doing it and enjoying it more, of being in a place of like giving back to people and giving them the best experience. And I don't know, I feel like that started really young because I was like 10-ish when he started in the hunting industry, 9, 10-ish.
So did you ever feel like you had to leave our small town, quote unquote, to go pursue what you wanted?
No. And actually, I thought I'd live in Holman. I'm not far.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to go to school like way across the state though. And they drove me there and they're like, see how long this takes.
They never wanted us to leave or move out even.
And I was like, yeah, it kind of is. He's like, yeah, you just can't come home whenever you want, you know? And I'm like, yeah, that's true. So I opted to stay closer. But no, I didn't. No. And I don't know. I love our area. It's so
Mhm.
biased, but
Yeah.
as much as we do a little bit of complaining in the winter, like I try to lean into the winter, because there's so much good spring, summer, fall to make it all worth it. And snow at Christmas, there's nothing like that.
Yeah.
Or like Valentine's Day, but I don't know, like, and just being close to like family. Maybe part of it too was like, well, maybe it could have been different if you moved away.
True.
But
I kept you here.
but like, you know, because they made it so knit of like you spend time with your family, you know,
It's like
like
a
as
huge
a
value.
yes, of like you get together with them,
Quality
you
time.
plan your weekends around it.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Like
mean,
a dinner
we were
or a get
always
together or at the
spending
cabin.
time either together or with our grandparents or one side or
Every
the
weekend.
other. I feel like there was always
Every
family
weekend.
things going on, which definitely shapes you and
Right.
makes you not want to move away. I always thought that I wanted to move away and that I would eventually, but then obviously I started my first business and having that brick and mortar kept me here. And then I met my husband. That kept me here. He always thought he was going to move back home. And he obviously has settled into La Crosse, and this is now our home together. But I guess I wrote this chapter with that in mind of like, I think there is this stigma around a small town that if you don't leave, you're limiting yourself or you're just like playing small. But I, time and time again, am encouraged by people in a small town, either like ours or in ours, who are just doing insanely cool things right here. And they live here and they've maybe lived here their whole life.
Yeah.
And they love it. And it's a perfect place for raising a family. And I just think that you can still get out and travel, go meet new people, go to new places, go to the conferences, go on the trips. Like, I love doing all of that, but I don't feel like I need to leave this area in order to like pursue big dreams.
Right. Agreed. And I feel really like I don't view this as a small town. Like I feel like it's real, you know, medium size. And like everything here is what I need. And I don't crave it to be any bigger or busier. And I really like being a little out of town and a little space. And I love our views. And we're surrounded between the bluffs and the river. And we like lean into that. Like, I don't know. I'm so biased, but like, there's just so much good that I've always been like, yeah, I love it here. Like, I don't want to leave.
And I think that pressure is more when you're graduating high school and everyone's like, where are you going to college? Where are you going to school? Where are you going to school? And originally I was going to go to Winona State, and then my parents talked me out of it because it was more expensive than starting at the tech school. And I kind of begrudgingly then went to the tech school feeling like, oh, this is not as cool. This isn't as fun. And like, that's where I met one of my absolute best friends whose wedding is this weekend in my first class. You know, like all of those experiences impact me. The tech school is where I taught group fitness for the very first time.
Well, exactly. Like,
and was
your path would be
encouraged.
much different. Without that.
So I think if I actually hope this book really speaks to like young people that want to pursue a path of entrepreneurship or even just a path less traveled, that like there's no one way. And it'll be very interesting to see where college is at when our kids are at that age, because I really don't think it's going to hold the merit that it has. At least when we went to high school, it was like, if you're not going to college, like, oh my gosh, what are you doing with your life?
Right.
You know, like it was kind of like like you're going to just like be a failure. And it's unfortunate because we know that's not true. And we especially know as entrepreneurs, that's not true. Some of the best entrepreneurs in the world barely have a high school diploma.
Right.
So it really has nothing to do with how smart you are, your work ethic, or how successful you'll be. So I'll be very interested to see how our children experience that at that age. But I do feel like I didn't have that pressure from our family, because whether we went to college or not, our parents didn't care. I mean, I was the first to fully graduate from our family in college, but I almost didn't. Like, I almost quit because I wanted to pursue my business, which you'll read in later chapters. And, but I was paying for it myself, which is probably the only reason I stuck it out. If my parents were paying for it, I probably would have quit, which is what happens to a lot of students whose parents pay for everything, not helping your kids by paying for everything. But I just feel like there's a lot of stigma around that. And I think it's getting to be less and less, though. I think more people are valuing the trades, more people are valuing the tech schools, the like kind of alternative path, which is amazing. Like, I don't think you need a college degree to be successful. In fact, I know that's completely untrue. And I would say some of the most successful people I know don't have either a degree or any college experience.
Agreed.
So
it's true.
Yeah. I think that'll be really interesting to see. Okay, one last question. Okay. Do you have a big dream that you've been afraid to follow? And is there anything stopping you?
I think I can confidently say no as of now. Like, I'm pursuing it daily. Yeah. I like, things have shifted too, of like, I have some family goals. Like legacy goals for like our family. So it's kind of cool. They kind of like are real estate intertwined with family. Yeah. And like how we can impact like the generation beyond our kids, like the next one. So that's
thought that far out.
Surprising.
Oh no. I was gonna say, I can't believe I haven't thought that far ahead.
So those are kind of my like larger, bigger outlook plans. Yeah, and just like and like real estate legacy stuff, but like a place of like making memories. It's kind of like Dad's goal with the cabin, you know, and like wanting to keep that in the family for generations.
But something maybe that you create of your own too.
Exactly.
So multiple places.
Right.
I love it.
And the whole part is like, it's cool because it can set you up financially for success, but yet it can be this space of like so many memories.
I just envisioned us twofold on the lake somewhere as old women chit-chatting.
As old,
but
she'll still be
young.
Doing burpees. Just kidding.
I love that. And I would say the same. I feel like this book has been a dream that I was unsure about. And I'm just glad that I have like taken the leap and overcome the fears to hit publish and just see what happens and what becomes of it and what new doors and dreams are going to open because I decided to do this one thing. What a fun episode. This might be one of my favorite episodes I've recorded, and it was so spontaneous, and I hope you as a listener enjoyed it. There's going to be so many more just like fun, random, spontaneous interviews to go along with each chapter, so keep reading, keep tuning in each week, and we'll see you back next time. Keep following what drives your soul. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Soul Driven with Steph. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it out with someone else who needs to hear this message. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so that you know when new episodes drop. And until next time, be sure to take care of your mind, your body, and your soul.